Within fandoms, everybody gets into communities through different means. For video games, it is most common that someone played a game as a kid and fell in love with the medium as a whole. I can safely say for me, though, this isn't the case. YouTube is honestly the reason I consider myself a fan today. In 2019, I discovered so many content creators talking about the games I loved and even ones I didn't know about. Because of them, I was able to become further invested in gaming as a whole and found myself purchasing games I never would have tried if I didn't see videos about them. Because of this, it is important to me to discuss the fan experience with content creators. My name is Jeannie Stanton, and this is the life behind a fandom. In today's episode, I spoke with Liam Triforce. For those who may not know, Liam is a YouTuber and writer who covers video game topics. The most popular of these are his retrospectives on things like specific games such as Super Mario 64 and complete console histories like the Nintendo Wii. To start off, can you share a little bit about your journey with video games? When did you begin playing? What was your first console? Anything like that?
From what I can remember, my earliest memories with games were like PC games, so like Freddy Fish 3, Putt Putt and stuff like that. You know, the humongous entertainment games.
Yeah.
Those got me familiar with like problem solving. I played a lot of adventure games when I was little, but then I got a GameCube when I was like, I think 4 years old, and like 3D games, and I couldn't believe what I was experiencing. I think there was something innate that made me connect with that medium more than anything else that I'd experienced. Something about the idea of basically it had all of the elements from film and other mediums, like anything really, like books. I had stuff from music because music is so integral to games, and writing for games is a lot harder than writing for a film because there's so much of it. And I didn't realize this initially. I just was like, oh my gosh, Mario can do a triple jump if you hit A at the right time when he lands. Then I played Zelda for the first time when I was, I think, 6. It was a combination of a few Zelda games. The first one on NES, Wind Waker, of course, and Ocarina of Time. I don't remember which one I finished first. I think it was Wind Waker, but each of them took me a while to finish. And I kind of learned like, oh man, games can tell stories too. And like, it was like a perfect fusion of everything that I looked for. And I think from that moment forward, I was like, this is, I think, what I'll always connect with. Before I get too off topic, like I was gonna say that I was led into YouTube with games, like because I discovered like Let's Plays in 2009, and I was like, wait, people are getting paid to do like comprehensive coverage of their favorite games. And as soon as I found that, I think it was over for me. As soon as I found out about that, like yeah, that was when I was a young kid when I started playing games, and I realized very early on that they were something I was going to take with me for the rest of my life, and not like in a nebulous way. Like I loved them and valued them more than I think most of my friends did.
Yeah, for sure. I honestly really resonate with that. Conveniently, my very next question was what led you to create your YouTube channel? If you want to just kind of keep going with
Okay.
that, feel free.
Yeah, so I discovered Let's Plays in 2009, and I started making my own at home. Like I'd point a camera at the TV just because I wanted to do that and kind of share. I think the first one I covered, I think it was Wind Waker. I must have tried it 3 times with different hardware. The first one was like my iPod Nano. Didn't upload it, obviously. I did another one with a digital camera. That one I did upload. It was like a year later. Although you're not supposed to be on YouTube when you're 11. So
Right.
my parents found out, and they were not best pleased. But that didn't stop me, because 2 years later, when I was 13, I made a series on Wind Waker again with a camcorder I got for my birthday one year. And I actually finished doing that one. So I thought for a while that I was going to be doing Let's Plays because that was like the most comprehensive way to share your love and also bring your own personality to what you're doing. At the time, though, I was watching Angry Video Game Nerd. started like around the same time I discovered Let's Plays. I was watching him. He was like the other 50%, I guess, of why I started, because I was like, he made a whole show revolving around, like, I point to the Castlevania videos as probably his finest episodes, because not only are they funny, like there's the scene where he's like talking about how Simon will whip a block in the wall to reveal just a cooked turkey, and he's like doing that in his own house. Like, oh, if there was a turkey in this wall, I would so eat it. He made them funny, but also he was very passionate about Castlevania. So I think that was another turning point for me, where I was like, I could structure videos like this, but all I knew was commentating over video games at the time. So yeah. Coincidentally, at the same time, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I'll just do this,
Yeah.
as if that was a safe career choice. It's not.
No.
There's absolutely no guarantee that it'll work out, and you need a backup plan. I still have one. Anyway, I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
I think what I want to do is, well, you can edit videos for a living, you can edit movies.
Yeah.
And so I decided that's it. And then in the meantime, I'm still writing my own stuff just for fun. And, it kind of, I got in after I finished high school. I got into a video program at college, and I studied that thinking that I was still going to be editing videos for a career. Meanwhile, I'm still writing my own stories. And by that point, I transitioned out of Let's Plays entirely because I saw they were a dying medium. Sadly, most of them are like gameplay videos with like titles and people going like gasping in the thumbnail, and like they're not the same serialized stuff where you get like part 51 has been uploaded of Mother 3. Not that Mother 3 is that long, but I decided to pivot into written stuff because I was watching not people inspired by AVGN at that point. There's so many of them, too many to list. So yeah, meanwhile, I'm trying to pursue video editing. I'm doing video editing as a hobby as well for YouTube. But all the same, I'm still writing because that's where I felt comfortable and I guess safe. And it wouldn't be until I got a part-time job at Walmart. The Walmart I worked at doesn't exist anymore, but I got a part-time job there, and I realized while I was working, I was writing ideas on receipts for both videos and my own independent work. And I was like, oh, I want to write for a living. Shit. I think I messed up. But hey, this is what happens. People change majors, like they'll go back to school. The funny thing is, just as I was starting to figure that out, it was 2019. My Half-Life video took off, due in large part to Vinny of Vine Sauce finding the video and watching it and sharing it.
Yeah.
Since then, we've become pretty good friends, which is great. But at the time, it was the boost that I think my channel needed, because it was not only did I work really, really hard, like unusually hard on that video, because it was my first really long, like it was like an hour and 45 minutes, but it also just, I guess, resonated with people. And I realized there, oh, okay, I need to start doing more like this, and I need to figure out how.
Yeah.
And so I just kept hammering away at scripts. And within a year, I had sent in my letter of resignation to Walmart. And to this day, I don't think I've used my college education for. Well, that's not true. I was going to say I haven't used it for anything. It's like, oh, I haven't applied to a job with it, but I took the lessons I learned from that program, not just in using software, but like, to be honest, because I had, well, I'm not going to make excuses, but when I was sick, for those, I guess for those listening that don't know who I am really, I got leukemia when I was 11 and a half, and it lasted until I was like 14. So I missed a lot of school, and I had to play catch up in the years that I actually was there. By ninth grade, it was a struggle to keep up. And to be honest, I had gotten so used to being coddled by our healthcare system and my parents that it was hard to suddenly adjust. I also kind of realized that a lot of my friends, well, I say friends in air quotes, I knew who my friends were. I know who they are now, But back then, there were a lot of people that used to bully me that I guess pitied me and decided to hang out with me. So it was a weird shift when they suddenly stopped being around. Anyway, a lot of this, I guess, made it difficult to stay on top of things. And I think I had a lot of unresolved issues for sure psychologically going into high school. And I won't go into that any further. But a lot of this made it hard for me to keep up. And YouTube was like, I think, the one thing that made me realize that, well, YouTube was the thing that made me realize what I really want to do with my life. It's not YouTube that I want to do for the rest of my life. What it is that I want to do is write. And I think the catalyst for that was when I was in grade 11. My English teacher, toward the end of the semester, told me to see him after class, and I was like, oh God. But he basically sat me down and said, okay, so this essay you submitted, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's bad, but here's what we can do. And we had a long talk about it, and I basically, I knew for a fact that I wasn't applying myself, but he gave me pointers on how to structure arguments. And basically, I also told him, he asked me, like, do you enjoy writing? And I said I love it. And he I think he knew from there that all I needed was direction. And sure enough, the next essay that submitted with his advice, and also just the fact that the subject was, we were kind of given free reign, whereas the last one was analysis of Great Gatsby,
Oh,
which is a hard book to pick apart.
yeah, no.
Uh, it's funny, no, yeah. I think looking back, I was pretty shit at analyzing media, um, when I was in high school. But now it's all I do, and I think I owe it to a lot of people, like people that I look up to. His advice was, invaluable in getting better at writing. The games that I've played, I want to make something a quarter as good as the stuff that I've played, and also shows, movies that I love. And I also just, I guess I want to make something that like lives longer than I do. To answer the question of how I got into YouTube, um, I'd say initially it was because I wanted to talk about the stuff I loved, and that still hasn't changed. But now I see it as a place to practice telling stories and finding value as a writer. And it's kind of amazing that the internet, for all the stuff I hate about the internet now, it's amazing that it's given people an opportunity to do that. And that's true for like art and music and pretty much anything that you care most about, is that it gives you a place to just do whatever you want, and you might actually be able to make a living off of it. And you don't really have that when you pitch a screenplay to Fox. But as soon as it's pitched, that's not yours anymore, it's theirs.
Yeah.
So yeah, the long-winded answer, but
No, you're all good. My major is actually video production, specifically with a focus in editing. So that also was really nice for me to hear, just kind of unrelated, I won't lie.
well, no, it's going to be valuable, yeah. Regardless of whether or not you pivot. um
Yeah.
I think not just the practical stuff, but just the things you learn from, like, as a human being, are quite valuable. At least in my experience, it was,
Yeah.
because it's an artistic major.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of to move a little bit towards where you are now, is there a specific process you have for creating videos? What does that kind of look like for you?
It's funny because I was gonna work on a bonus video talking about this, so I have notes. But so usually it's pretty. I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of spontaneous now. I used to let numbers influence what I make, and that was starting to wear on me. Because whenever I'd make something that I cared about, it would do poorly. But then it was like, do something like Zelda, and of course it's gonna do well. Apparently not the case for all the time. Either way, I've settled on just spur of the moment kind of ideas. It just comes from whatever I happen to be playing. Like I played Mother 3 for the first time, and I'm like, that's definitely on the back burner now. And from there it's like, okay, if I have enough to say, maybe I've written stuff, maybe I have a lot floating around in my head. Uh I'll start to write out an outline, or I'll just like record a playthrough of the game if it's a game in particular and take notes along the way. And when I take notes, I don't worry about structure at all. I just say whatever comes to mind. It doesn't really matter whether or not it's like a serious kind of video or it's meant to be comedic. You write anything that comes to mind. If it's funny, you write it down. If it's, if you think it might be valuable, you write it down. Just any thought,
Yeah.
you make sure you write it down. So I worry about structure and relevancy of my thoughts like way later when I have a concrete thesis. And but that is something that's extremely important too, is you can't really go into a video unless it's more comedic. Well, I think you should still have a central idea when you're making a comedic video, but and in some ways I think that's harder. But uh, you should still have an idea to revolve your thoughts around. And um, if it's hard to come up with something, just think about what you like most about the thing you're talking about, I think. And I guess the rest will follow because you can just kind of revolve your thoughts around the thing that resonates with you most about anything, and you can connect to them from there. Also, keep in mind it takes practice too. I've been doing this for years, so
Yeah.
it comes a bit naturally to me. It comes way more naturally to me compared to somebody that might be just starting out. Like I can't,
Right.
like it's like the thing I discussed earlier, where I was in high school. It took me time, and I also was robbed of time too when it comes to my education. So it took me a while to actually get better at writing. When it comes to recording games as well, most people these days just record on their computer with emulators. But I'm weird, so I like to record on original hardware sometimes, most of the time, unless it's like a few consoles because they're just easier and perfect on emulators now. But I have a whole like this is not going to I'm not going to talk about the whole thing, but I have a whole setup, scalers, like bunch of wires. It's ridiculous, but it's really fun and probably like I just feel like I connect with games more when I play them like that.
Yeah.
And but it's very expensive, and thank God this is my main job and I'm making money off of this so that I can, for tax purposes, it definitely helps. Anyway, from there, after I record, I definitely will have a lot of notes. I'll If I have a central idea, much easier to write an outline. If not, I just do something else. Like if you ever get stumped writing something, just leave. Just walk away and do something else. And maybe in a day or two, 3 days, 4 days, however long it takes, provided you're not on like an incredibly strict deadline. But I mean, to be fair, like I think most people work better under pressure. So, but maybe you don't have a deadline, but you just stumped. Uh, you take some time away from it, you'll be refreshed, and it'll just come to you one day. Like I told myself I wasn't gonna work for like a week. It took me 3 days before I was already like click clack typing away. But yeah, that's the general process. Like after that, I just narrate the script, read it verbatim, add and remove stuff along the way, edit, and that's it. I used to do it all myself, but I needed help. So my editor's name is Max. He doesn't edit everything that I do, but I've handed off a few projects to him now. Guitar Hero, Silent Hill, Mirror's Edge were done by him. There's probably one more or two more I'm forgetting, but absolute lifesaver in doing this consistently without burning out. Um,
Yeah.
and I realize not a lot of people are going to have that kind of, they're not going to have the resources to afford that. But yeah, just focus on doing something that you care about. Don't worry about consistency or making it a career because you really can't bank on something like this working out from the get go. The biggest thing I can say is when you make a video in this vein, you want to try to say something that hasn't been said, structure it in a unique way. That will make your video, I think, all the more compelling.
Yeah, for sure. Would you say or feel that content creation has changed your view on gaming or fan culture? Either one, whatever feels right, or both.
I try not to let it. Well, fan culture, yes, positively. It in a positive way, it has changed my view of fan culture. I think without it, people like the Earthbound and Mother community would not be as strong as they are.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just an amazing way to connect people with their favorite games and maybe think differently about them. It's amazing. Honestly, I I am so grateful for the invention of YouTube as a means of connecting with fans of the same things that I'm a fan of, and just being creative in that in that space has been so rewarding. As for how it's affected my view on gaming, um, I try not to let it, because when I make my own stuff, when I watch other people's videos, I try not to let it influence how I make my own. If you're just a viewer of YouTube videos, I'm sure it's just awesome. But I don't I don't want to I don't want to plagiarize anyone. Um, and I just want to have my own, I guess, original thoughts about games, because that's where I think the best videos come. When I play and record a game, I try to keep myself isolated. I try to make it so that it's just me with my own thoughts. And for the Zelda videos especially, oh my god. I think when I was recording for Zelda, I turned my phone on silent. I think it was just me in the game, just like it was when I was a kid. Made those videos all like so much better. I know it's a weird answer, but it's probably just the perspective that I have. I think videos can kind of, not all of them obviously, like, but there are some out there that can poison the way we think about games, and think about, like, for so many years people were saying that Sonic Unleashed was such a terrible game, blah blah blah. I mean, I still don't really like it, but it's got such a huge cult following that it's impossible to ignore. And now people are trying to have changed the narrative, because it's like they actually gave it a chance. So it's definitely a mixed kind of topic. There's videos that can make you feel a bit more open-minded about things, which I always appreciate. But then there are also ones that can kind of, I guess, spoil an initial playthrough where you have an original thought about the game that you're playing. And that goes for all media too. And it's funny that I'd say this, maybe kind of hypocritical because of the kind of stuff that I make, but I've always said that what nothing that I make or that anyone makes should be a replacement or, a substitute for playing it yourself or anything, not just games. Anyway, yeah, it's I guess I have a weird perspective on it, but that is generally how I feel.
So to kind of wrap up, I have two questions I'm asking everyone, regardless of kind of what their niche is. So the first of those is, what has your favorite video game experience been? Anything related to or a game you've played, whatever comes to mind.
My favorite video game experience is still Wind Waker. I grew up with that game, like I played it as I was getting older. Something about it, not just the fact that Zelda inherently is such a rewarding series to do problem solving in and like experience the story and all that in the world, but it also had this like beautiful sense of exploration that and like community with the people that are alive in that world compared to you know the world they left behind, that all told through the eyes of a protagonist that has to grow kind of quickly, which spoke to me. It informed a lot of my views on life and games, and I guarantee, even though I have a very particular way of playing it now, I have like hero mode on the GameCube version, not the Wii U version. So it's like action replay code and all this stuff. But even though I have a particular way of playing it, I know for a fact that I could turn Wind Waker on any day and it would still provide me with the same sense of satisfaction and remind me of my personal growth in a way that very very few games could. It's like that game is built on top of the already satisfying experience of playing Zelda, of thinking of what to do in a situation and thinking of solutions and finding things in this beautiful world. And it's like it's just its art style too is like not only emblematic of the narrative itself, but like it also just proved the people that did play the game initially wrong. It's actually far more mature than its art style would lead you to believe, and that just makes it all the more beautiful. So yeah, that's a pretty easy answer for me. Wind Waker for sure. If not that, then like Majora's Mask for similar reasons, especially the community part. Yeah, I think that's my answer.
Yeah. The last big one. Do you consider yourself a video game fan and why?
Yeah, I think so. People say that games today are like they're not fun anymore or something like that. Just you really don't have to be beholden to what comes out now. You can play anything that appeals to you, provided you have the means to do so, and you can still consider yourself a video game fan. Like it's not black and white. You don't have to love what's going on in the industry to still love games. I joke about this, but most of the games that I played last year came out 20 years ago. It's just because I kept finding new ones that I hadn't played and I ended up loving. Like last year, I think it was Silent Hill 2 for the first time. Okay, well, I can't think of all the examples off the top of my head right now. It's pretty easy to consider myself a video game fan when there are games that feel like they were made specifically for me and they're out there. You just gotta know where to look. So it's definitely not as bleak as some people would lead you to believe to say I'm a video game fan in current year. Uh, I mean, Wind Waker never left this world; it still exists. So, yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah. I bet no one will ever say no to that question, but I still love asking it because I feel like it's just kind of like a, you know, kind of just a fun conversation to have.
Yeah,
But yeah, that is all the questions that I have for you. Thank you so, so, so much for taking this call with me and everything. I really appreciate it so
no
much.
problem. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And that's all for this week's episode. You can subscribe to Liam on YouTube at Liam Triforce. Thank you again, Liam, for taking the time to do this call with me and interview for the podcast. Be sure to follow our Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Life Behind a Fandom. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.